Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In this video I'd like to look at how the more experienced MTPredictor users can use multi-time frame analysis to help filter their trades. Standard MTPredictor uses our STF color here, where we look to trade in the direction of the color, red for down, black for flat, blue for up. However, like most technical indicators, this is lagging, so we want to try and move to a higher level where we can work off higher time frame support and resistance, but more importantly that higher time frame support and resistance is put on your chart in advance. So that's what we like to move our customers into. So rather than looking at our STF, we look at the higher time frame support and resistance. And I want to show you a good example here on our 3-minute chart of the DAX. You can see that we had a DP sell here, which was actually catching the high of the day so far, but it was against the blue STF. So was there any way that the more experienced MTPredictor user could look to take this trade setup? Well, what do? Well, we go to the higher time frame chart. So in this we look to a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames higher. So off a 3-minute chart we'd look to go to a 15-minute chart. And there's the 15-minute chart loading for you. Whoops, there's that DP I had on earlier, so I'll just take that off to show you how I place that on the chart. What you do is you go to prior swing pivot highs and lows. So before the market even got all the way up here, you'd have gone back to this prior pivot high here. You'd have right mouse click, you've gone to MTPredictor, then you'd have applied manual decision point. There it is, manual decision point. And that would then place this level on the chart. Now remember, these are on the chart in advance, so this would have been here before the market even got up to that level, so it would be preparing you in advance for these higher time frame support and resistance areas. I'm just going to put a rectangle around this, you see, at the same level as that DP. Remember, it's the price level that's important, not the time. Let's now go down to the shorter time frame chart and see how that looks. There we go. So can you see now how this 3-minute DP sell was right at our 15-minute resistance area? And again, remember, I have to stress that this 15-minute resistance area was on your chart in advance, so you were ready for potential resistance as the market went up into this level. So now the market is at the higher time frame resistance. You can now take the trade on the shorter time frame. So this means hovering over the red sell bar, which was here. We then go to MTPredictor, we then go to Analyze Trade Setup, and that will then place the analysis on for us. As you can see, this then gives us our correct position sizing and gives us our profit target and what our profit would be at that particular level. Now remember, the important thing with trading is keeping your initial risk small under control. This is what we do at MTPredictor. We use correct position sizing to keep our initial risk constant over our separate trades, and more importantly, small in relation to the profits. Here you can see at the first target the profit would be approximately 4.4 times greater than the initial risk. In other words, your profit here would be 4.4 times greater than your loss if it had been a loss. Small losses and large profits, this is the key to successful trading. And this is why we focus on this at MTPredictor, because the only thing you can control in your trading is your initial risks. In other words, you keep your losses small. So this is what we tend to do at MTPredictor. We look to try and trade in the direction of the higher time frame trend. In other words, we look to go to our higher time frame chart, put our support and resistance areas on there, and then look to trade with those. And here you can see a great example where our 3-minute DP sell came in at 15-minute resistance. If you're now more experienced, you could then go back out to the 15-minute chart and you can say, well, actually what I want to do is look for a larger degree support zone of where the market is likely to find support or resistance. For this, we go to our last pivot low, which is here, right mouse click, again we place our DP on, and there it is. As you can see, it's actually in advance. It's on that chart before the market even got there, because this is unfolding in real time as I'm doing this video. So now when we go back to our 3-minute chart, we can see our, oh sorry, I should have put a box around it, shouldn't I? So I'll just nip back to my 15-minute chart very quickly. Sorry about that. I'll just put a box around this level down here so we can see where it is. There it is. There's our box around that level. We'll now go back to our 3-minute chart and see how our potential risk reward could unfold at this level. So rather than coming out at the first target here, you can see how you had the higher time frame support here So you could say, well, I don't want to come out at the first target. I anticipate this is going to go down to the larger degree support zone, so let's now place the risk reward on at that level. I'll just take the automatic analysis off. For this we have a manual risk reward tool. If I right mouse click, MTPredictor, apply manual risk reward. This needs 3 clicks. The first is on the entry bar, which we had 1 tick below that red cell bar. We then make the second click at the stop, which is the pivot high there, and then our last click down here at our target level. And as you can see, if the DAX gets down to this higher time frame support zone, the profit would be absolutely massive, and in fact actually 14 times the initial risk. So this is the beauty of MTPredictor. It allows you to enter trades with a small controlled risk and then have profits that are much larger than the initial risks or losses. What I'm going to do now is, because this is unfolding in real time, you can see ticking away here, I'm just going to pause the video, and what I'll do is I'll come back to this in a little time in the future to see whether the DAX does indeed come down to this particular level. If you're trailing with this, you could be looking to lock in your profit by trailing at the protective stop level, which is our ATR level, which is these red and blue dots. So using these red dots here, you'd have your protective stop in around 8-hour profit. So already you're locking in a very nice profit. But what I'll do is I'll pause the video, come back in a little while and see whether the market does indeed go down to this particular level. It's always good seeing how these unfold in real time. Well, here we are a little while later. As you can see, the DAX did not quite reach the large degree 15-minute DP. Well, here we are a little bit later, and as you can see, the DAX did not reach the large degree 15-minute support zone we had on our chart earlier. In fact, it started to rally back up a bit and actually hit our stop we had at our ATR level. But as you can see, it's still locked in a very nice 8-hour profit. Again, I want to stress that this profit was 8 times greater than the initial risk. So this is the whole idea of the MTPredictor trade setups. And first and foremost, we want to move you away from our STF trend indicator, which is a lagging indicator like most indicators, and we want to move you to use the higher time frame DP support and resistance zones. Remember, we put this level on the chart, on our 15-minute chart in advance. We then look to trade on shorter time trade setups that fall either at our larger degree support and resistance zones, as in this example here, or in the direction of our larger degree trend. And in this case, it allows us to pick tops and bottoms like this with a small controlled risk. So hopefully this has been a good example of showing how the MTPredictor add-ons in TradingView have been working with this example on the 3-minute DAX with 15-minute larger degree support and resistance unfolding this morning.